live stream has started.
What's that?
Do you have a spare pen? Sorry. Do you need a different I'll do it on this. I've got a good pen.
Adam, thanks for that follow-up.
There is a fire, just so everybody knows, there is a fire just on Mellick Road, right across from the fire hall. Actually. Not, I understand in not enough vicinity, so Kent won't be there, but
I agree.
Okay, we're live now.
Welcome everybody. Call the regular meeting of council for the city of Kenora to order. At this time, we'd ask council, everyone rise, and Councillor Van Wellingham will read the blessing.
As we gather, we recognize that we are on Treaty 3 lands, which are steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to many First Nations and Métis people today. We continue to be thankful for the partnerships with our Indigenous people. We give thanks for the many blessings we enjoy in the city of Kenora. We seek wisdom in our minds, clearness in our thinking, truth in our speaking, and always love in our hearts, so that we may try always to unite the citizens of Kenora. Let these principles guide us in our decision making.
Thank you, Councillor. Public information notices is required under Notice Bylaw 144-2007. Public is advised of Council's intention to adopt the following at today's meeting. Council will establish their 2022 meeting calendar, declare surplus and authorize the sale of the land at an unassigned address on Chipman Street described as Lot 290, Plan 25, and part of Lot 291, Plan 25, designated as Part 7, Plan 23R 14508. Authorize a conditional purchase and sale agreement between the Corporation City of Kenora and the Innkeepers, Inc. for the municipal lands legally described as parts of 12th Avenue South and McRae Street, and the lands described as all of PIN 42168-0150, all of PIN 42168-0155, and part of PIN 42168-0154. This time, is there any member of council who wishes to declare a pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof pertaining to any items on today's agenda from a previous meeting or from a meeting in which a member was not in attendance? Seeing none. This time I'd ask for the reading of resolution number 1, please.
Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Chase, that the following minutes of the Council of the City of Kenora be adopted as circulated regular council October 19th, 2021.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. At this time, we welcome Dan Penner with us today. Dan represents Urban Systems and they are working on our strategic planning progress. Dan, welcome, and you have the floor.
Awesome, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to everyone today. I do have a very short presentation prepared, so I'll try to share my screen here if I have privileges there. There we go. Awesome. So, yeah, thanks again for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today on the strategic plan project. Really, the purpose of this presentation is just to give council an update of where we're at in the strategic planning process. Talk about some of the key themes and things that we've heard throughout the process that have led to the development of some initial draft components or pieces that are really going to form the foundation of the new plan. So as part of this project and getting to this point, we've engaged with council, we've engaged with staff, the community, the stakeholders in the community. And from that, we've crafted some initial, think of it as like the structure or like the bones of this new strategic plan. So including an updated vision statement, which describes the organizations or the city of Kenora's future aspirations for the community. Like what did Kenora look like in the future? Like what are we striving to achieve and create this community? What does it look like? Updated mission statement, which is really just a short and concise description of the fundamental purpose or ambition of the city as an organization. Like, what is our role? What is our responsibility? How do we want to work as an organization? From that, there are a number of focus areas that have been established. So think of these as like key priority areas or buckets related to different things in the community. The city can actively work towards improving or creating progress over the next 5 years and beyond. And for each of those focus areas, we've established some initial goals. So desired outcomes for each of these pillars or focus areas. I'm going to go all through all of this in a few slides, but I just wanted to, before I move on, just take a little bit of time to talk about how we've gotten to this point and how we've used input, not just from yourselves, but from staff and the community in putting this all together. So in terms of the actual process, we're kind of moving into the tail end of this project, the last final push. And earlier in the year, in the initial phase, we did, May and June, we did things like a background review, all the reports, studies, documents, information that's been compiled or produced, just to make sure that we're aware of, other initiatives or, strategic projects that have been identified in past planning exercises. We did some engagement planning, an initial workshop with yourselves, where we asked you some questions like, as leaders in the community and elected officials, what is your vision for Kenora's future? What are the big priorities that you feel need to be addressed? And how can the city, incrementally work towards addressing those needs? As well as we put out some initial community notice, so building awareness of the community, really to lead into a phase of strategic plan engagement, which we did over the summer, which included a community survey where we had close to 900, I believe just over 900 responses to that survey. It was a very in-depth survey that asked a bunch of questions about, what do you feel the conditions are in the community as, opposed to 5 years ago. There's some really, really good information there. And for those that haven't seen it, it's attached in an engagement summary report that can be made available to any members of council. We also did some stakeholder meetings, so community organizations and representatives from different groups within the community. We had some engagement booths at the farmers market, at the community market, just to give people an opportunity to kind of pass by and learn about the project and provide information. And the results of all of this is consolidated into a summary report, which again pulls out, these are the key themes that we heard. These are the results generally from the engagement that was undertaken. But it also includes some appendices that have all of the every individual survey result, every individual meeting minute, everything that was said to us through that process. And it's a very lengthy document, but there's a lot of good information in there. And from that engagement, we moved into the third phase, which was really about sitting down and developing some initial directions. What should the strategic plan include? How should it be structured? Looking at different focus areas, goals, vision and mission statement. And we provided those directions to staff, who then went through a very intensive internal review process. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few slides and why it was really important and why, big kudos to the city staff for putting the effort in. And from their input, we kind of revised things a little bit. And now we're here providing you with an update. Later on in November and moving into December, there will be a more lengthy opportunity to sit down and go through a draft plan that we're going to develop, and we're going to give that to you in advance so you're able to provide us with comments and thoughts. And we're going to have more of a formal workshop here before we submit that final plan. Again, today was just more of an update. So in terms of setting direction and understanding that we have all these different entities within the community providing us feedback on what they feel is important and where the needs and opportunities are for the city to move forward on. Where we started was with you, with council. Again, as elected officials, leaders in the community, we really wanted to understand what you felt were the priorities as leaders in the community, and really use that information to start informing discussions through the rest of the process. So, through that workshop, if you remember it, it was a couple months ago, or some months ago, but a number of the key themes that you said to us were brought forward into the second step when we engaged with the community and really looked to them to help verify some of these things. The sentiments from council level were really reflected broadly in the community, and there was quite a bit of consistency. So with that verification, we kind of took it into the next step where we sat down with the senior leadership team here are the priorities. As an administration, like what are the tangible, realistic ways we can start working together to move ahead in certain areas, right? Not coming in with sort of pie in the sky ideas or projects, but sitting with staff and saying, let's take some ownership over this plan. Let's make it a Made in Kenora plan and figure out what the realistic path forward is. And that was a really good exercise. And again, a lot of effort put in by your administration. So kudos to them. And now we're coming back full circle. So giving a quick update on this project, but really when we have the full draft complete, we're going to bring it back to you and close the loop, so to speak, and just give you an opportunity to say, when we voice our priorities, when we try to set direction at the beginning, we feel like it's reflected in this plan. Maybe we need to make some changes. Maybe it looks great, but there will be another opportunity to review the draft plan in depth. So going back to that meeting, that May 17th workshop, which was really focused on, trying to understand your vision for the community, what you feel the mission of the city is in providing, services, infrastructure, and programs to the community, confirming what your values and principles are as leaders and how you feel that should be reflected within the administration, as well as identifying, again, like what are those key focus areas that this plan needs to, be accountable to, and it needs to incorporate or integrate into the final product. So again, we established a number of key directions or key themes through that workshop that really informed like every conversation moving on. So, starting with you and use that information to guide the rest of the process today. Some of those key themes that came up included Indigenous relationships and municipal reconciliation efforts, in environmental stewardship, and finding ways to be a greener city. So, mitigating the impacts of city operations on the environment, being a safe community or enhancing community safety or perceptions of safety, housing, obviously, a big priority in the community, and just trying to find ways to provide housing for all needs, whether it's affordable, market, social housing, as well as the diversity in housing types. Long-term planning for growth was discussed, and the need to think long-term and think proactively when it comes to growing the city, whether it's from an infrastructure standpoint or just general development. Cost-effective and sustainable infrastructure, so looking at ways to reduce or find more cost efficiencies in how the city builds, maintains, and develops infrastructure. A lot of that is tied to asset management and really using that tool to guide decision making. Economic diversity and tourism growth. And a revitalized downtown and waterfront, we're kind of tied together. Like we really want to see, the regeneration, of our local economy, through this whole COVID pandemic. We also want to look, to the future and make, smart strategic investments that will, create economic growth, create tourism, and also contribute to the quality of life in the community. Modern and efficient city services was also brought up during that council discussion, and just finding ways to be more efficient, to cut red tape, provide, again, more modern services, whether it's, permitting, paying taxes, whatever it is. Another big area was just in general promoting quality of life and active living, and just make, Kenora is a great, as someone who spends a lot of time in Kenora is a great community. I think it has or supports a very high quality of life, and that is a strength to build off of, and that was a key part of the discussion. And finally, communication with the community, and just enhancing city efforts, which I think are pretty strong, but building off of that and finding ways to reach out to more citizens more effectively on city matters and city affairs. So, in short, these were the key themes that came up at our first meeting together. And we took this information and really used it to frame conversations with the community, with staff, and stakeholders moving forward. So really used it to set the tone for the subsequent activities conducted. The second step about community confirming, these themes or these priorities. As I mentioned, we did a number of engagement activities. The survey, I think, was probably the best source of information that we got. The results are really in depth. There's a lot of really good insight into where the community's mindset or general headspace is at. We also engaged staff as well, and put out a survey. We had 87 city staff respond to our survey and asked them questions about what do you think your department needs to focus on, for these different areas. And really through that exercise, it really just, confirmed the things that were brought up at a council level. That, there was support for, a lot of the key themes brought about by council, within the community and within your administration. So as we confirmed, we're kind of on the same page here of, what's important. And these are just, again, some survey examples, sorry, from the, just some results from the survey. So the one on the left, we asked, we had a big list of different areas, but, what was the most important thing, to focus on? So, safety, housing, healthcare, social conditions, growth, economic development, those were kind of at the top, which I think align with a lot of what we talked about, in our council meeting. There was also a lot of, good information about things that the city's doing well. So the question on the right, like, how would you rate the parks, recreation, culture, heritage services in the community? And there was a lot of support. Like, a lot of people or residents said, this is a strong area for us. Like, we feel we're getting good services, on the recreation, museum, cemetery, like the arts, parks, and recreation space, perform very well. The safety, and the only reason I bring this up, because it was something that did get flagged quite a bit, is a big need to address, and it's a very complex issue that's no responsibility of any single entity in Kenora. It's everyone working together to address. It's rooted in some really complex and historical social conditions in the community, but it just flagged where the community's headspace was at. So we asked the question: has the sense of Kenora safety changed today as compared to 5 years ago? You can see, majority of respondents said, it feels a little less secure, a little less safe. And again, that's just a big challenge that, everyone's going to have to work together to address. But again, flipping back to the strengths, like looking at transportation, some infrastructure in the community, like, people are generally, happy with sidewalks and, your street clearing and snow removal services and general roads. And again, so lots of positives to build off of, but also some core areas that got flagged as, we need to put some focus in here. So once we confirm, council's priorities with the community and staff, we created some initial directions based off of that and handed it over to your administration, who then conducted a really extensive internal review process to engage all staff to understand how they feel each department can move forward in addressing these different areas, and to also build a sense of ownership over the plan. One comment we had, from the past strategic plan is there wasn't a sense of ownership at an administration level. So there was a big push to make sure that as many staff were involved in forming this plan as possible. So when we gave those initial, contents to the administration, the staff went through this big exercise. They reviewed it and established 10 initial focus areas and some related actions. Like, these are the 10 areas that we want to, put our resources into. And these are some specific projects or areas or goals that we would like to see accomplished. And again, it all ties back to, the broader picture, established at a council level earlier on in the process. So, some key highlights, and I'll go through the different focus areas and some of the content that we've developed. But some of the key highlights about this plan, I would say, is it really has been a city-driven plan that's been informed by, community input and sentiment. So it's really been driven by council, it's been driven by staff, and it's been informed by, the perceptions, the ideas, the mindsets of the community at large. Again, we use that initial council direction to really frame and drive conversations, throughout the rest of the process so far. Really help build a sense of ownership among staff, from senior leadership to managers, frontline staff, who I feel like they have a stake in the game, like they were able to be part of this project, which is really important. Because the goal was to create a Made in Kenora strategic plan. Not something that, I'm just writing off the side of my desk, but something that's really created collaboratively between all the different actors within the city of Kenora. So I'll just quickly go through some of the key directions that have been established, again, with this back and forth, with staff over the past couple months. Starting with the vision and mission. So, the vision statement being that aspirational goal, like, this is what we want to see the city of Kenora be in the future. This is how we want it to grow. in the mission statement, being a more short and concise summary of like what is the role and purpose and aspiration of the City of Kenora as an organization. So the vision statement that we prepared, going into the new draft plan, is Kenora provides a high quality of life for residents and unique experiences for visitors by celebrating and embracing the community's rich heritage, diversity, and natural environments. That's the long-term goal that we're always working towards in the mission. So the City of Kenora's mission is to be an accountable, collaborative, and informed team that takes pride in delivering cost-effective municipal services. So again, some of the things that formed it from council included, when we talked about the visioning piece was, quality of life and being a healthy community and celebrating, our heritage and the environment that surrounds us and the diversity that we have in the community. In relation to the mission statement, there were some comments from council about, the old one was pretty financially focused, like, we can broaden it a little bit, and we really want to emphasize team building and working together. In terms of so those two things really again set the tone for the rest of the plan. The bulk of which is really looking at these different focus areas, like where are we going to put in our efforts and resources to improve or progress in certain ways. And each of these focus areas has some initial goals that have been established. Like this is what we want to achieve over the next 5 years. So when the staff went through their review, as I mentioned, they kind of identified like these 10 focus areas that had a bunch of different projects or goals attached to them. And it included everything from Indigenous reconciliation to infrastructure planning to community safety. And what we did is we took those 10 areas and consolidated them into 5 more concise focus areas. So those are infrastructure and environment, tourism, economic growth and development, community well-being, recreation and safety, service delivery and organizational capacity, and Indigenous reconciliation. And there was a comment from council that the Indigenous reconciliation piece, like we really need to pull that out and separate it, make sure that it's its own section in this plan, which is what we've done. The idea is that as we move forward to developing the final plan, we'll include refined goals, but also a list of all the actions, like projects or initiatives or like the tangible things the city can do, to improve, or progress in each of these areas. So I'm just going to go through each one of these quickly and just talk about, some of the goals that have been established, kind of where they're, leading towards, and then we'll allow some time for questions at the end as well, for those that, want to chat a bit. So in terms of infrastructure and environment, so we felt this was a good pairing, just because like how we build community and how it connects with the surrounding environment. There's an interface there that needs to be properly or carefully managed, as well as looking at ways to reduce the impact of the city building infrastructure and providing services on the surrounding environment. So the 3 goals that were established included. To date are completing long-range planning for city infrastructure and facilities. So there's a number of different initiatives that have been identified, by city staff saying, we need to think longer term and start figuring out like, what is the long-term plan for like wastewater, transportation, water provision, and make sure we're planning proactively. Creating financial efficiencies and improving cost recovery, developing, maintaining, and upgrading infrastructure. This ties into asset management. This ties into development cost recovery. Everything, and just trying to ensure that the city is looking in creative and innovative ways to build and maintain infrastructure in a more efficient and cost-effective way. And then the third goal was reduce the environmental footprints of city infrastructure in operations. So looking inward and saying, as an organization, as a city, how can we reduce our footprints? How can we reduce our impact on greenhouse gas emissions and climate change? And how can we ensure our operations we mitigate impacts on the natural environment as best as possible? And some of the council directions that informed this included, again, things that were brought up at our meeting: proactive planning for growth and investing in infrastructure needed to grow the community, being a sustainable and greener community. enhancing asset management and addressing climate change, and being fiscally responsible with infrastructure development. The second focus area, so tourism, economic growth, and development. The three goals that came out, for the next 5 years included generating investment on municipal land and surplus lands. So this is really tied to, the city's land disposition program and all of these vacant lands, that can be for sale to be developed. A more general goal about enhancing visitor rates, stays, and experiences in the community. So, promoting tourism and bringing people into the community. As well as promoting more diverse housing development across the housing spectrum. So I know this is a big goal, and it's kind of been included in this, growth and development focus area. But really, it's about, what can the city do to facilitate housing development in the community? And there's, a lot of ideas on how that can move forward. Council directions that inform this. There was a lot of conversation at our beginning about surplus land development. Finding ways to activate development on those municipal surplus lands. The need for housing and having a comprehensive housing plan or strategy in place. Enhancing tourism and visitor experiences. Continuing at the harborfront redevelopment and downtown, revitalization, as well as tax-based diversification. And finding ways to be, to grow the tax base, but also diversified, with, industrial and commercial assessments. The third area, community well-being, recreation, and safety. So this included goals about enhancing four-season recreation programming facilities. So looking at ways to, not just for residents, but visitors in the community as well, that they can get outside or indoors and be active and social throughout all seasons. Improving community safety and perceptions of safety, and the perceptions of safety is important. There may not be a lot of crime or unsafe activity in an area, but people's perceptions may counter that, right? And that does, stick in the mindset. So including that as well. And improving service and cost efficiency of emergency and protective services. So looking at, how the city, the services are provided to the city, finding out if there's ways to make it more cost effective or ways to improve it to, for the betterment of your residents and visitors as well. Council directions that played into this included, the conversation on providing quality of life and healthy lifestyles, retaining and attracting youth by, creating like a, desirable community for youth and young families, and just in general, trying to create a safer community and addressing some of those issues that have been plagued, by residents. The fourth area, service delivery and organizational capacity. The two goals here are really about modernizing city service provision and front desk customer services or experiences. So looking at ways to be more efficient, ways to make things more electronic, more, digital, and just modernizing, those different services, as well as looking long-term at the organization, the City of Kenora administration, and establishing long-term staffing and capacity needs. That includes, things like succession planning, and as the community grows, like what are the new positions or staff areas that are needed? What's needed now, and looking at ways, filling those gaps in the future. Council directions that played into this included, enhancing communication with residents and modernizing services, being transparent and accountable to the community, team building within the administration, and innovation, and trying to be innovative with how we provide some of these services. The final focus area on Indigenous reconciliation, which was one of the main areas that we did talk about in that council session. The two goals that have been established include partnering with Indigenous peoples and communities to advance municipal reconciliation initiatives and foster meaningful working relationships with neighboring Indigenous communities. So one is more inward looking, like how can we work with our Indigenous neighbors and our Indigenous residents, to identify and advance initiatives that promote reconciliation within our community. The second one is more related to how can we work together with our neighboring nations, on common interests, common goals, but just again having that strong relationship. And as I mentioned, this was a big part of our conversation, and an area that's been pulled out into its separate section. That we'll look to strengthen as we move forward through the final phases of this project. steps, as I said, we're trying to move this forward, before the end of the year. We have a staff workshop next week in which we're going to sit down with not just senior leadership team and managers, but other staff as well, and go through these goals and go through some of the action items or projects or initiatives that have been identified or flagged as something that can be done that's realistic and tangible. And we're going to work through that and start really formalizing what's been done to date into a full draft plan. And when we have that draft strategic plan developed, we're going to take it back to you and review it with you in full and give you an opportunity to really go through it in detail and provide your comments, thoughts, and notes, as well as with the community and stakeholders that we engaged earlier in the process, and the senior leadership team as well. And from that input, we're going to refine this strategic plan into a final document. And the plan is to submit it before the new year. It may tail into January, but this is the schedule that we're trying to work with right now. So I appreciate everyone's patience. That was a lot to go through. I'm sure I went over my time. I'm happy to answer any questions, comments, anything you want to discuss about what I just shared. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to provide the update today.
Thanks, Dan. I'd open it to council if they have any questions. Councillor Smith.
Not so much a question as a comment. Thank you for the presentation. I'm very excited about this strategic plan and the fact that we're going to complete it before the end of this term of council. My comment is that I liked how we benchmarked the community on what the city was doing well, and I was pleased to see some of those responses, so I appreciated that slide.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Anyone else? So, sure. Kyle, can you just walk us through so we know exactly kind of the timeframes and council audits?
Yeah, sure. The one thing that I wanted to say is something that's very important to me, and we've had this conversation with council. So the layer that you're seeing us at right now, a lot of the goals that we're seeing are very similar to goals that would have been in the strat plan, maybe slightly reworded, but very similar. So what we're going to focus on. The next step that we're going to go down to is how we're going to do that. And so those are going to be that next layer down. Those are going to be the goals that are going to be really measurable. We're going to be able to come back to council as administration. We're going to be able to come to members of the public and say, look, this is what we said we were going to do. We did it. And we'll have an explanation for how we achieved that. So this is just that one layer deeper that maybe we didn't quite get down to last time. That's very important to me because I want to be able to help the directors and their departments really have clarity around what is expected of them. And I want to be able to report back to council and the public, like I said, so it's very clear that we've done what we said we would do. So from a timeline standpoint, the SLT and I need to sit down with Dan and Urban Systems one more time, and we need to refine a few things. Then we will schedule an open council meeting to sort of work through that, and we'll show you that next layer down, and we'll make sure that we're on the same page, and if some things need to go or get shuffled, we'll go through that process with council at that time. And then it's our optimistic hope that we would get this on the COW agenda for December 14th for council to consider and then pass December 21st. So bit of a tight time frame. We're ambitiously going to do our best to achieve that, understanding that it's a busy time of year, but that's the time frame that we're really trying to adhere to. So as long as we don't hit any speed bumps along the way, that should be, we really want to try and have this passed before the new year.
Thank you.
Is that helpful?
It is.
Perfect.
Any other questions or comments, council? All right, well, Dan, thank you very much for your presentation. I wouldn't be so concerned about the time. It's better for us to get all the correct information as opposed to, rapidly skimming over maybe something that might be important to us. So we really appreciate what you presented to us today. It's starting to make the picture very clear, so thank you.
Yeah, and that's a great point. We do have a deadline with the grant, so just working with that may need to push that a little bit, but that's the one driver behind the December 31st deadline.
Thank you. All right, Dan, thank you for your time, and we shall see you next month.
Sounds good. Appreciate it as well, and I'll see you all in December. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, additions to the agenda, we have none. Appointments, we have none. At this time, I would ask for the reading of resolution number 2 as we move into Admin and Finance.
Thank you, Your Worship. Resolution number 2 is moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Poirier, and it reads that Council hereby accepts the monthly financial statements of the Corporation of the City of Kenora at September 30th, 2021.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution number 3.
Thank you, Your Worship. Resolution number 3, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Chase, that the council hereby accepts the 2021 July to September contracts and expenditures approved report.
All in favor? Opposed? Resolution's carried. Resolution number 4.
Resolution number 4, Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Smith, that council hereby accepts the 2021 capital and unusual spending quarter 3 report.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 5.
Resolution number 5, Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Smith, that council hereby approves the amended Water and Wastewater Long-Range Financial Plan forecast as required under the Safe Drinking Water Act and Ontario Regulation 453/07.
Councillor Poirier?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of comments before we vote on this resolution. First of all, I wanted to start off by saying thank you for going back, and I know there was work involved to adjust or revamp the long-range financial plan for this utility. I fully support the plan. I think it's a great management tool and a blueprint moving forward for our infrastructure deficit. I, however, do want to voice my concern, and it doesn't mean I'm not going to support the resolution, but I go back to the fact that now we're going to heap another 4 years of increases, four years of increases onto the users as a result of passing this plan. I still believe that there's other ways, other means to achieve our goals, and I just want to leave it with the fact that hopefully going into the future, and that if consultants think that we're going to tax our way out of or increase fees to get out of our infrastructure deficit, they're living in a world I'm not living in, because it's not going to happen. There's going to be a time where subsequent councils are going to have to decide on other means and ways of achieving these goals without increasing rates, because we are going to hit a wall at some point in time, and people, when they can't afford clean water in their houses because they're afraid to turn the tap on, we're going to have a problem. So I wanted to bring that forward. I am going to support the resolution. I'm not very happy about it, and if I don't support it, then I basically have no right to support next year or future year water and wastewater annual budgets, and that's surely not my intent, to stop progress of chipping away at the infrastructure deficit, but I still have some concerns about how we're moving forward financially. Thank you.
Very much take your point, Councillor Poirier. The inflationary pressures that are on members of the public and citizens are also on municipalities, and it's costing more and more to do our business and put pipe in the ground and get materials and supplies, and it's certainly a challenge. Certainly understand that there's significant pressures on members of the public to pay for the things that they need, including water and sewer, and we will continue to do our best to try and manage that utility in a cost-efficient manner and see what options are available to us to try and minimize the impact on residents.
Call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Resolution number 6.
Resolution number 6, Your Worship, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Chase, that council hereby accepts the 2022 council meeting calendar as presented.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Resolution number 7.
Your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Chase, the council hereby directs administration to prepare resolutions for consideration at the Kenora District Municipal Association upcoming 2022 annual AGM in the following areas: funding for Northwestern Health Unit, housing development support, reducing OPP costs, and the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot. And further, that these resolutions be submitted to the KDMA Executive no later than December 10th, 2021 for consideration.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 8.
Thank you, Your Worship. Resolution number 8 is moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Smith, that council hereby authorizes administration to keep Old Chalet Lane closed at Anishinaabe Park for the 2021-2022 winter season, and further that 3 readings be given to a bylaw to authorize a memorandum of understanding with Middle Lake Enterprises for this purpose.
All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is carried. Resolution number 9.
Thank you, Your Worship. Resolution number 9, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Chase. The council hereby approves an application for a variance to assign bylaw 115-2010, seeking relief from section 5.4 development zones.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 10, please.
Resolution number 10, Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Goss, that council hereby declares surplus and authorize the sale of the land at an unassigned address on Chipman Street described as Lot 290, Plan 25, and PT of Lot 291, Plan 25, DES PT 7, Plan 23R 14508, City of Kenora, and further, that in accordance with notice bylaw number 144-2007, public notice is hereby given that council intends to declare these described lands as surplus to the needs of a municipality at its November 16, 2021 meeting, and further, that council hereby authorizes a purchase and sale agreement between the Corporation of the City of Kenora and Northern Sounds and Systems, Inc. for the purchase of municipal lands legally described as above, at in the amount of $150,000 plus HST, and further, that 3 readings be given to the applicable bylaws for these purposes.
All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is carried. Resolution number 11.
Resolution number 11, Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Poirier. Whereas the COVID-19 global pandemic has had a devastating effect on the City of Kenora business community, and whereas Council approved Kenora's Economic Recovery Plan in July 2020, which identified 4 priority areas including bring tourists back to Kenora, restoration of downtown activity, grow the resiliency of the business community, and infrastructure that supports recovery. And whereas the City of Kenora, alongside its partners, are working to deliver shop local initiatives for the holiday season, now therefore be it resolved that Council hereby approves free metered parking in the Harbortown Centre for December 2021, including or excluding municipal parking lots.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 12, please.
Resolution number 12, Your Worship, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Chase, that council permanently closed and declared surplus to the needs of the municipality parts of 12th Avenue South and McRae Street and the lands described as all of PIN 42168-0150, all of PIN 42168-0155, and part of PIN 42168-0154, and further that council hereby authorizes a conditional purchase and sale agreement between the Corporation of the City of Kenora and the Innkeepers, Inc. for the municipal lands legally described as above at in the amount of $301,000 plus HST, and further that 3 readings be given to a bylaw for this purpose.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution number 13.
Your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Poirier, that the mayor and clerk be hereby authorized to execute an agreement between the corporation of the city of Kenora and the Kenora District Services Board to support the development of a self-cleaning washroom at 15 Chipman Street in the amount of $150,000, and further that 3 readings be given to a bylaw for this purpose. And your worship, I just want to make a very brief comment that this washroom has been a long time coming. People have petitioned council for a number of years to have more downtown washrooms. It's an opportunity to try out this new mode of a washroom, so I, as one councillor, am fully in support of this. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. So we'll call the resolution. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 14, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Resolution number 14 is moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Smith, and it reads that council hereby approves an application for zoning bylaw amendment, file number D142108, to change the zoning of a portion of the subject property from R1 residential first density zone to R2 residential second density zone, and further that council gives 3 readings to bylaw to that effect.
Councillor McMillan, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a short comment. I appreciate the comments that have been submitted and stated regarding this proposed zoning request. As well, I have reviewed the information provided, including the letters received from the residents, and have visited the site of the proposed development. I view this rezoning as an opportunity to address our housing requirements, and this proposed zoning resolution is very supportive of our housing priorities and will aid in moving the yardsticks forward. So I'll be voting in favor of this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is carried. Thank you. Resolution number 15.
Your worship, resolution number 15, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McMillan, that council hereby denies an application for temporary use, file number D14-21-09, to permit the temporary use of property legally described as PIN 42134-0552 for a campground for a period of up to 3 years in the BSL Black Sturgeon Lake Restricted Development Area Zone.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 16.
Resolution number 16, Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Poirier, that 3 readings be given to a bylaw to execute an agreement between the corporation of the City of Kenora and the Government of Ontario for the provision of municipal modernization program funding in the amount of $52,585, and further that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute this agreement.
All in favor? Opposed? Resolution carried. Resolution number 17.
Excuse me. Resolution 17, Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Smith, that council hereby adopts the following minutes from various City of Kenora committees. September 23, 2021, open and in-camera minutes, the Muse. October 7th, 2021, Accessibility Advisory Committee. That council hereby receives the following minutes from other various committees. September 30th, 2021, District of Kenora Home for the Aged. September 24th, 2021, Northwestern Health Unit. September 29th and October 18, 2021, Kenora Police Services Board, and further that these minutes be circulated and ordered filed.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 18.
Resolution number 18, Your Worship, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Poirier, that Council of the City of Kenora hereby accepts the September 2021 Kenora Water and Wastewater Systems Monthly Summary Report as prepared by City Administration.
Kevin, is there anything in the report that you want to highlight before we...
No, Your Worship, not at this time.
All right, thank you. All in favor of the resolution as read? Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 19.
Your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Poirier, that the following bylaws be now read a first and second time and approved in their present form and presented for third and final reading. 143-2021 confirmatory, 144-2021 declaration of surplus land and request to purchase Chipman Street lot. Number 145-2021 purchase and sale agreement Chipman Street lot. Number 145-2021 purchase and sale agreement The Innkeepers Incorporated. 146-2021 KDSB contribution agreement public washroom 15 Chipman Street. 147-2021 zoning bylaw amendment D14-21-08 northeast corner of Sunset Bay and Transmitter Road.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Notices of motion, we have none, with one proclamation. By virtue of authority vested in me, I hereby proclaim Tuesday, November 16th, 2021 as Louis Riel Day in and for the city of Kenora, and request its observance as such by our citizens. Proclaim that the city of Kenora the 16th day of November 2021. Announcements. We'll start with Councillor Van Wellingham and go around the table.
I have nothing at this time, thanks.
Councillor Goss.
Nothing today.
Councillor Smith.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We experienced a major weather event this past weekend. It was so severe that it closed down the highway number 1, both east and west. I'd like to thank staff for their effort and the work that they did during this snowstorm. It was unusual in that it was a mixture of rain, snow, and high winds. And I think that, again, the staff did an amazing job with what we were faced with. And I'd like to thank the residents of this community for their patience and understanding as the city worked through this event.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor McMillan.
Yes, just I would like to acknowledge Councillor Smith's comments and also pass on my thanks to staff and acknowledge their efforts. It was our first storm of the year, and it's an opportunity for staff to review what transpired and move forward from there, but I think it was a tremendous effort. I noticed they worked all weekend in addressing the difficulties, so kudos to staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Chase.
Just one quick comment, thank you, Your Worship. In line with some of the weather events that we've experienced here, there's quite a bit of significant rainfall and devastation happening on the West Coast and in BC, so just wanted to express my thoughts and prayers to some of our neighbors out west experiencing a pretty difficult time right now. And you know, in a lot of municipalities it's similar size as ours, so it's sort of cause for pause to think about what might happen one day here and make sure that we're prepared. So just wanted to express some thoughts towards what's going on in BC right now.
Thank you. Councillor Poirier.
Yeah, just on a hopefully a happier note, just a reminder that next Saturday, November 27th, the annual Santa Claus Parade is happening in the city of Kenora under the guidance of the Kids Club of Kenora. So it's a kind of a good news story, good news event to have that back.
Thank you. And kind of following on the same theme, we now see the Christmas tree is up and sitting and people are anxiously awaiting that will be turned on. We received notification this morning that this tree lighting ceremony will take place this Friday. And of course, COVID protocols have to be in place, but I think it's a time of the year when everybody gets excited. The tree lighting, which leads in the Santa Claus Parade, I know the Festival of Lights, there's a lot of positive energy in the community. So I'm not really sure where the tree came from this year.
Kevin could answer that.
Wayne England's house.
Thank you. Or Councillor Van Wyham. But, you know, we're very fortunate year after year citizens step forward and present a beautiful tree, and so it'll be exciting to see it. I walked by this morning thinking, why isn't that damn tree turned on? Remember, there's a process, so Friday will be exciting for everybody. So thank you.
If I could make one comment really quick, Your Worship,
Sure.
just in line with the snow removal, just wanted to let members of the public know we put out a request for proposal for contractor support to help with snow removal efforts, and we didn't receive any interest from contractors this year. So typically, we would have that additional support from contractors in the community, and we did not have that for this snowfall event. So just wanted to let the public know that. Certainly want to echo Councillor Smith's comments. We appreciate the public's patience as we've tried to get through this snow event. Just wanted to provide that detail because it is significant, and it did preclude us from being able to remove the snow a little bit more quickly than we would have liked. So that's a problem that we are trying to remedy and trying to find, again, that support in the contractor community to help us deliver that service. So thanks again to members of the public for their patience during this time.
Thank you, Kyle. It's time for the call for resolution number 20.
Thank you, Your Worship. Resolution number 20 is moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Poirier, and it reads that pursuant to Section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001, as amended, authorization is now given for council to move into a closed session at 12:55 p.m. to discuss items pertaining to the following. Number 1, education and training for members of council, and 2, receiving advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Just give it 30 seconds, please.
What about 5 minutes?
Just for the live stream.
So you don't say something that will come back to haunt you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're good?
Heather?
Just give it. There's a bit of a timing.
Councillor Smith, if I'm correct, you have 3 resolutions for me to sign?
Oh, yeah, sorry.